Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of science and green news. You need to know this. Lawmakers and lobbyists are conspiring against clean energy. Last week, conservative politicians met with corporate interest groups at the annual meeting of the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. Every year, elected officials from around our country attend this event, where corporate lobbyists provide them with draft legislation and talking points to sell the public on their plans for big business. In addition to their usual pro-business, pro-gun, anti-worker topics, this year's ALEC meeting focused in on the fossil fuel industry's biggest fear, green energy. John Ike, the director of ALEC's Energy, Environment, and Agriculture Task Force, said that ALEC believes energy consumers, not governments, should have the power and ability to determine what types of energy best suit their needs and desires. However, he failed to explain how encouraging states to sue the EPA over carbon regulation or ALEC legislation intended to hike up the cost of solar panel installation gives consumers more choice in the energy market. Dale Eisman of the nonprofit group Common Cause said, whatever the issue, labor, schools, climate, or energy, ALEC is drafting bills to advance corporate interests that don't coincide with the public interest. Shouldn't be surprising that an organization funded by the oil lobby and the Koch brothers is leading the fight against clean energy. But many people would be shocked to learn that it's not illegal for industry lobbyists to meet lawmakers in secret and come up with ways to screw the American people. Corporate interest groups should not be drafting legislation, and legislators have no business in closed-door meetings with fossil fuel industry lobbyists. The future of our planet depends on our ability to make the switch to green energy, and the last people who should be working against our efforts are those elected to represent us. Believe it or not, Fido has feelings too. According to a new study from the University of California, San Diego, man's best friend gets jealous of other dogs that take away from their owner's attention. The scientists conducted the experiment to determine whether feeling jealous was unique to humans, and they figured out that our canine friends can be quite possessive about our attention. The researchers worked with 36 dogs and observed them while their owners ignored them in favor of different items, pop-up book, a jack-o'-lantern, and a toy dog. The owners were instructed to treat each item as if it were their pet by talking to them sweetly and petting them like they were a pet. But the dogs had the biggest reaction to the toy dog. Some dogs responded aggressively by nipping or barking at the item, and others tried to be more affectionate with their owners. All the dogs were upset about losing their owner's focus, which showed scientists that humans aren't the only ones who get jealous. Greenpeace wants Lego to break up with Shell Oil. Last week, activists dressed as life-size Lego figures held a protest outside the Lego store in New York's Rockefeller Plaza. The event was part of the Greenpeace USA Arctic campaign, which is calling on the Danish toy company to end their partnership with the oil giant. Shell Oil is currently planning to drill for oil in the Alaskan Arctic next year, and Greenpeace is working hard to block that drilling. After the Lego company began selling toys with the Shell logo, Greenpeace also started working to stop the oil companies from advertising to our kids. Greenpeace campaign specialist Tyler Sandville said, Lego is letting a cynical oil giant use the Lego brand to get into millions of kids' playrooms. It's time for Lego to stand up for the Arctic and for kids by ditching Shell for good. Well said, Tyler. It's time for all of us to ditch big oil once and for all. The longer we wait to act on climate change, the more money it will cost to prepare for the impacts. That's the finding in a new report from the White House's Council of Economic Advisors, which says that dealing with the risks of severe weather, sea level rise, drought, and other impacts will be far less expensive if we do it sooner rather than later. At a press conference last week, CEA Chairman Jason Furman said this report makes clear 3 reasons why we must act now to deal with global warming. He said, first of all, we know way more than enough to justify acting today. Second, delaying action will increase the cost. And third, the uncertainty of the risk is an argument for acting today as a form of insurance against the worst consequences in the future. Taking immediate action on climate change is not only about saving the one and only planet we call home, it's also about saving a ton of money on the inevitable effects of global warming. And finally, if you're worried about spreading germs, you may be better off giving a terrorist fist jab than a typical handshake. According to a new study, The Institute of Biological, Environmental, and Rural Sciences in the United Kingdom, fist bumping passes fewer bacteria than high fives or handshaking. Study expanded on the Journal of the American Medical Association's recent call to ban handshakes at hospitals. They made that suggestion in response to data from the Centers for Disease Control showing that 1 in 25 patients developed healthcare-associated infections when doctors and nurses passed germs from other patients. Instead of criticizing the president and first lady over a fist bump, perhaps Fox so-called news should have been praising them for highlighting a public health issue. And that's the way it is for the week of August 4th, 2014. I'm Thom Hartmann on Science and Green News.